Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new video on the channel where today we cover some incredibly unique 610mm 2-foot gauge rail action in northern Cairns in Queensland, Australia. As some of you may know based on my previous videos and news circulating about it at the time, in late 2023, Cairns had record-breaking floods due to Cyclone Jasper hitting 100 kilometres north, which left days of heavy rain in its wake. This led to many of Cairns' coastal beaches being heavily damaged, and the area's key river, the Barron, went well beyond the bank and flooded many nearby communities. Now, the Mulgrave Sugar Mill, operated by MSF Sugar, based in Gordonvale, just south of Cairns, operates a sugarcane railway line in the area to transport northern Cairns cane south to the mill, and one of the key pieces of infrastructure was a flood-resistant bridge over the Barron River. However, the floods were so disastrous and unprecedented that the floods caused the bridge to entirely collapse, creating an isolated rail line north of the Barron River. More of these details can be found in a previous video if you want to watch it for further context. Anyways, with no quick rebuild of the bridge in sight, Mulgrave had to act quickly to still be able to transport sugarcane in the area. New road rail ramps, also known as roll-on roll-off ramps, were constructed on the connected link in Redlynch and the isolated line in Barron, and the plan was to have trucks constantly moving full and empty sugarcane bins between these ramps during northern harvesting. This even included the mill putting a locomotive on the isolated line to help shunt the bins there after a massive cleanup of the isolated line had to take place, and that is what we are here to see today. It's unclear how many cane seasons this sort of thing will last, as in the long run the constant trucking will outweigh the cost of building a new bridge. However, the new bridge in question would in the short term be quite expensive and take a lot of time. So no matter what happens, I hope this video will showcase these operations in a meaningful way. Without further ado, let's begin. Welcome to the Cairns Railfan. We're at the Redlynch ramp, and here comes our first truck ready to unload some full sugarcane bins onto the connected rail link. The bins for this operation are 6-tonners, instead of the usual 10-tonners brought up to Redlynch and uniquely painted in fluorescent yellow on the lower half. This is to make clear their compatibility for the road rail operations. This is because, like other mills have already begun to do, Mulgrave Mill is replacing their old link and pin couplers with modern knuckle-style couplers instead. Due to the way some of those newer bins are set up with one knuckle coupler on one end and a link and pin coupler on the other, it makes them incompatible for the road transport pairs of bins. The bins marked with fluorescent yellow indicates that they only have link and pin couplers and can be used for these operations. When bins are loaded on and off the line, often a nearby placed tractor is there to push the bins in place once the winch is taken off. It can often be a bit of a tedious process, as sugarcane bins are equipped with no brakes, and often when rakes are fully stopped for placement, chock blocks are placed under the wheels. Here and at other sugar mills in Queensland, tractors for these operations are often equipped with rudimentary items to act as a sort of buffer beam. An example of this includes rubber tires strapped to the front. By now, the shunter placed in Redlynch for the day had arrived and assisted with putting together some of the full bins. Today, instead of 13 Hambledon like usual, the locomotive was MSF Sugar, Mulgrave Mill, Clyde Engineering, HG3R 18 Barron, both of which are the same locomotive model. However, 18 Barron does have notable design differences due to the fact it has undergone a complete rebuild in 2016, while 13 Hambledon hasn't yet. Barron brings some of the fulls forwards to leave room for further deliveries and afterwards hurries off to bring in another rake of empties brought up from Gordonvale to feed into the sidings. Not too long afterwards, 18 Barron returned with a long rake of empty 6-tonners brought up from Gordonvale. Here, the train intends to just push a few into the siding, and every time a truck approaches, a pair of 3 bins are uncoupled and the train moves backwards, and then moving forwards again afterwards for later truck pickups. The locomotive seen operating in Redlynch today, 18 Barron, was built in 1964, just like fellow locomotive mentioned previously, 13 Hambledon. And this locomotive also worked for the same mill at first. this being the Hambledon Sugar Mill located in Edmonton, just north of Gordonvale. During this time, 18 Barron was simply just known as 8. However, in the early 1990s, this mill unfortunately was forced to shut down due to rapid urban sprawl taking place over sugarcane fields of the area. This resulted in most of their rolling stock being transferred to Mulgrave Mill and their track network as well. For example, this rail network in northern Cairns was once a Hambledon Mill line, so it's nice to see the ex-Hambledon Mill locomotives doing what they did best. We now leave Redlynch and head to the isolated line north of the Barron River. Here we find MSF Sugar, Mulgrave Mill, Clyde Engineering, DHI 7125, undertaking some collection of full 6-ton cane bins at Yorkeys Knob. This area has seriously come a long way from what it was looking like in December of 2023. "25 now prepares for departure from the siding with a small rake of 12 loaded 6-ton cane bins. It's headed south for the Barron Road rail ramp, where these bins are intended to be loaded onto the trucks we have seen previously and taken south by road to the ramp at Redlynch. The locomotive is seen here soon to be crossing the Captain Cook Highway, which can create some rather comical backups of traffic due to how busy this highway can get. There is a very small branch starting where the Barron Road rail ramp has been built, just before the rail line would have headed to the Barron River, and 25 is seen here pushing the collected bins into this siding. Unfortunately, on this day, I didn't get much of the loading and unloading at this ramp. However, luckily about a week prior on a one-off visit, I did manage to see this happening, so I decided to include it in the video. Now back to the day I had dedicated to covering as much action as I possibly could. 25 now uncouples from the full bins and picks up 12 empties to bring up north to Yorkeys Knob. Next to the siding here is also something quite interesting I would like to mention. Just across the road are some of the last remaining connected remnants of what was known as the Double Island Line. This sugarcane rail link was used the most in the Hambledon Mill days and included a railway line into the suburb of Smithfield, further north and as far up as what is now known as Quorra Beach. Like the situation itself that forced Hambledon Mill to close, urban developments of the area forced the replacement of sugarcane fields with buildings, which meant over the course of multiple years and even to the Mulgrave Mill days, this line became shorter and shorter. By the 2020 period, it had been completely closed up from what I am aware, with lots of the track ripped up. At this siding where it had to run around the bins to continue north, train also added extra bins onto the rake, bringing our total to 54 empty 6-ton bins where they're headed for the terminus of the Yorkeys Knob line. 25 now approaches the end of the Yorkeys Knob line with its placement of 54 empty bins. 25 placed here at the time of recording has had an interesting life, being built in 1963, working over 1,000 kilometres south of here in Nambour as Moreton Mill's Moreton. That mill closed in 2003, and afterwards the locomotive was sent up north, where it became number 20 for Marillion Mill in the Innisfail area, about 100 kilometres south of Cairns. This mill was later struck hard by Cyclone Larry, forcing its closure in 2006, where South Johnstone Mill got the locomotive afterwards and retained its number of 20. The locomotive was eventually passed off to Mulgrave Mill and redesignated as 25, and at one point even had the name of Cucania. Since this locomotive's rebuild in 2023, it has lost its name but retained its number. And that's it for the video. I hope this served as an interesting dive into the unique sugarcane railway operations taking place in the northern Cairns area during the 2024 June to December cane season, and that I documented it well. The harvests of the area have been migratory and crushing style, often switching between the crushing south and north of the river. And as an additional fact, I've even heard that Locomotive 25 has since been swapped out with 18 Barrons seen earlier in the video, which is interesting, as I expected 25 to be spending the whole season operating the isolated line shunting trains. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.